Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. It's a little warm out here in Virginia.
Hmm.
A little
Well,
warm.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. See,
It's
95
warm like that
degrees here.
everywhere.
Boy, I was talking to someone from California today, and they were telling me the same thing. So we're going to talk to Mike, Mad Mike, and we also will talk to Dr. Dimon. Both of them are in California. I'm not sure whether Dr. Sims will be with us or not, but anyway, the show goes on. Mad Mike, how are you?
Other than living in the devil's armpit, I'm okay.
Wow,
It's right.
that's a
It's
bad
right
place
at.
to be.
It's hovering right at 100 out here.
Wow.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. And also, they were telling me, I was talking to another friend of mine out of California, and he was telling me that the wildfires, in some places, that they are still raging. Anything
Mm-mm.
close to you?
Mm.
There's a
To
slight
me,
delay,
no,
Mike.
no. There's nothing
Okay. How
close
about
to
you,
me. There
Doctor?
was one up the hill towards like Wrightwood or something, but yeah, it's a significant distance from me.
Okay. Okay. How about the Cajon Pass? Anything going on up there? Because
Yeah,
often there's something
yeah.
happening.
Above the Cajon Pass is the Wrightwood one is above the
Okay.
Cajon Pass. Yeah.
I see. I see. Dr. Demery, I hope you're staying cool, my friend.
Oh yes, I am. I'm in a nice air-conditioned house with the fan on and got a cool drink, so it's nice.
Mm.
That sounds good.
Good.
That sounds good. Okay. Well, I've got, for me, I need to talk to my landlord because I was upstairs getting dressed, came downstairs, and I have the thermostat set on 60. Now,
Mm.
rarely do I turn it down that low, and it's 85 here in the studio. So somebody's got some explaining to do.
Okay,
They've got
William,
some
let me
Yeah.
help
explaining to
you.
do.
Let me help you. Since you trust
Okay.
everything Andre says that when it's hot like that, you can't put the thermostat on 60 because the air conditioner isn't going to be able to handle it. So around
Uh,
here, what we do is like if yours is at 85, then you may be taxing it too hard. I would say he would put it up to the temperature where it is right now to sort of in the house to give the air conditioner a break. And then you can hopefully, if it doesn't freeze up on you, meaning it stops working
uh,
altogether and you have to get somebody out to service it, then what you do is hover it around 70, 69, something like that. But if you try to make it do more than it can do, it's not gonna work. It's a
not
losing
going to work.
battle.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
because Andre
Thank you,
said
Aunt.
it. That's the only reason why.
Okay,
If
okay.
I had just said it, you wouldn't listen.
So he says bring it up to the temperature that's in the room, which is
What
85.
Well, for now, because right now it sounds like you may have locked it up, meaning it's not
Uh,
working efficiently.
uh,
So
okay,
take it to 85. Hopefully, it will start working again properly. Because
mm,
the air conditioner itself can kind of literally form ice. And
ah,
it's not gonna work. So that's I'm just telling you what goes on in our house. If he has it on say
okay,
65 and it's 70 in the house, the temperature is going to go up to 70, 71, so that the air conditioner
okay,
won't be taxed so hard. And then if it's when
okay,
it cools down outside and hopefully your air conditioner hasn't locked up on you, then he will try lowering it to say 69. And if it stays there and it's
okay.
comfortable, that's fine. But yeah, you won't be able when it's this hot outside, you probably will not be able to make your air conditioner do 60. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But
All right. Hey,
unless you
well,
got
it's not
to
your fault.
uh-uh.
No, I'm going to let you guys talk. I'm going to let you guys talk, and I'll be right back. Okay.
Well, we gotta talk. Anyway,
Okay,
well, I
I'm
okay,
going to follow
okay,
your
well,
instructions. That's why you got to talk.
oh, excuse me, boss man.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the show, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful holiday break because I know I did. I think that everybody came to the boomerang last week except for me. And so I'm glad that you guys, had a great discussion. And I hate the circumstances that we'll be having the show today. Um, it's really sad when we think about what's going on just over the last couple of days. But at any rate, it is what it is, and we would be remiss if we tried to sweep it under the rug and not talk about it. So I will say my condolences to everybody who lost a loved one, um, including that young man's parents, because I know they probably had no clue um, that this was on his mind. According to what I've read about it, there was no indication that he was so far that he had any of this stuff on his mind. So it's just sad all the way around. Um, and I truly do hope that now that the Republicans' favorite politician has been shot by somebody with an AR-15, that they will finally consider passing laws that will protect not just everybody in the United States, but them and their favorite president as well, favorite ex-president as well, because it didn't have to happen. Um, and I truly do hope that no matter what your politics are, no matter what you think, no matter what you believe, that you find another way to express any discontent that you might have. Shooting somebody is not the way to get your political point across. We have a system called voting in this country, and so I hope everybody else will exercise their right to vote in order to um, Reverend Emery, like William and Mike took let's take a short break. So it's me and you for the moment. You have anything to add? Can you hear me, Reverend Emery?
You're breaking up. We're losing you. I didn't hear the last part of what you said.
It
Oh,
broke up on my end also.
okay. I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah,
You're
that's
good now.
better.
Okay. I was saying, Reverend Emery, did you have anything to add?
Well, I want to say that I am ashamed that this happened. I abhor violence, particularly this kind of violence, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a shame. Uh, but the thing is I think we have to be very careful now whenever crises like this take place. It's very important to uh, be careful, as we do on the show. You do, Ann, and Mike does, and pretty much everybody on the show. Try to deal with facts, not
Mm-hmm.
people's opinions,
Right.
because there's all kinds of conspiracy theories already
Mm-hmm.
swirling around that Biden, hired the family, the kid to do this, and that it was a left wing side of the Democratic Party that did this. And, you want to be very careful and look at the facts. And like you said, that this was a disturbed individual. The parents bought the gun, and he was probably a fairly good shooter, because a couple of different stories that I heard looking at the facts, that
Mm-hmm.
one FBI agent said it was like 400 yards that he fired from. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
pretty darn good shot. That's 150 meters. So if anybody's ever been to the range before, what I'm sure Mike has, 400 yards is a long ways. I can't
Mm-hmm.
even see 400 yards, let alone try to shoot at something at 400 yards. And then some
Right.
said it was probably around 100 yards. So, I think it's
Mm.
a shame that this happened. And I'm praying for Trump. I can't even believe I'm saying that, but I'm praying for him and asking that he has a quick recovery. And because they're going to use this as a spinoff.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
he
they're
was
gonna
already
they're
using
gonna
it.
they're gonna
Yeah.
work this to the end. And
Right.
so
Right.
nothing.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Wow.
uh,
Okay,
Okay, can you hear me now?
we can hear
There
you
we
I,
now.
go.
I want to
Yes.
say the last thing I wanted to say is that we can't get into the same thing that Trump does. He uses the Gish Gallop I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
guys know what Gish Gallop is. Some of you know what Gish Gallop is. I mean, he does that. I mean, in the debates where you talk over someone, and
Mm-hmm.
when you're talking over them, you're telling lies and not telling the truth.
Mm.
But I still think he's a moron. I think he's
Mm.
an, the
That
perdition
hadn't
of the
changed.
devil. I mean
Mm.
that has not changed. But
Mm-mm.
I don't wish this on anybody that
No.
he had a violent act, perpetrated against him by
Right.
an individual who was had to be very disturbed to do
Mm.
that, to take a shot at someone. So, I hope it works out for the best. I think he's already healing because he's already, on
At the
social media
rally.
texting and whatnot.
Mhm.
So, I hope that he recovers and gets better. Hope he's not too traumatized by it, but that we have to be careful now. And like I said, look at the facts. I mean,
Mm.
what are the things that actually occurred? What happened? Someone lost their life in this. Several people
Right.
are injured. So we
Mm-hmm.
want to keep them
Hmm.
lifted up in prayer. Like you said, a family lost a loved
Mm-hmm.
one,
Right.
and that's always tragic and a violent
Always.
act. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Right.
my take on it.
And I'm glad you
Right.
mentioned the facts because you've got to know what really happened. And that conspiracy theory about the Biden administration hiring this kid was a registered Republican.
That's right.
According to the reporting from the news outlets. So, and then his parents had the AR-15. So what I would hope is, that experience is the teacher. Whatever your ideology is, what has life shown you? And if life has shown you that anybody can get these guns and shoot into crowds, whether we're talking about supermarkets like here in
Crazy.
Arkansas a few weeks ago, or churches or malls or concerts, and even at a political rally for your favorite politician, that this is an epidemic that needs
Mhm.
to be taken care of. And they love to say when there's a tragedy like this, now isn't the time to talk about guns. Really, we just talked about your
Really?
favorite politician getting shot. We automatically talked about a gun when we said he got shot. So why wouldn't this be the time to have this discussion? Somebody took a shot at you, and almost, if he had just been a little bit more to the right, blown your whole head off. This is the time to have
Mhm.
this discussion about the epidemic of gun violence, senseless mass shootings in this country. But
Mhm.
that's what I'm
Mhm.
hoping. So, you hope something good comes out of it, and I really do hope that something good comes out of it, so kids won't have to be afraid to go to school anymore. Have these drills about what to
Well,
do
I
in
mean,
case of an active
also the
shooter.
parents could be possibly liable because they're the ones that bought it for him.
Well, he
It
was
wasn't
20 years
necessarily
old.
theirs,
Well,
and they
he's
they
Right.
they bought it for him, so he could legally go down and buy the gun. But the parents bought it for him.
Yeah.
That's
It
incredible.
just makes no sense. It's crazy. But
Makes no
Mike,
sense
what
to me.
did you want
Mike,
to
what's
add?
your take?
Go ahead, Ann. Finish your thought.
Oh, I was telling you to go ahead and
Oh, okay.
asking what you wanted to add.
All right. Thank you both. At the risk of upsetting people here on the panel, I like and respect all you guys. I love you. I appreciate being in the fold here on the Boomerang. But I'm going to say some things that probably you're not going to like. So let me start with the gun thing. Back
Mm-hmm.
when we had the assault weapons ban for, was it 5 year ban, 10 year ban? It's 10 year ban, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So back
Uh,
when we had the assault weapons ban,
mm-hmm.
shootings that were that assault weapons, supposedly assault weapons, were used in went down significantly. So now
Mm.
everybody jumps on the bandwagon and says, "See, we need to ban the assault weapons." However, in direct opposite proportion, shootings with other weapons went up in equal amount. So they banned these weapons, but man will do what they got to do when, especially when they're crazy like this kid was. They will find another way. So they're going to use other rifles that don't look like the AR-15 that shoot the exact same round, well, Dr. Demery, you're familiar with like a Ruger Mini 14. So, it's
Mm-hmm.
got wood stocks. It's a hunting rifle. It's actually used for varmint hunting. That particular round, the 223, or the 5.56, depending on which version you're shooting, is a very small rifle round. Very small rifle round. It doesn't
22.
explode. What's that? Yeah, it's a 22.
It's a 22.
It's a longer cartridge than a standard long rifle 22, but it's a very small round as far as rifle rounds go. It's on the very small spectrum. So the rhetoric that goes out about these particular weapons, AR style weapons or assault weapons, they just look scary. They shoot the exact same round as other rifles, and they shoot one bullet with one pull of the trigger. They're not automatic weapons, they're semi-automatic weapons. And everybody says that AR stands for assault rifle. No, AR stands for arm-light rifle. They're the original manufacturer of that style rifle. So that combined with during the assault weapons ban, yes, the shootings with those type of weapons did
decrease.
Yeah, decrease. But other rifles that are larger caliber or the same caliber that just don't look scary like the AR, those shootings went up in equal proportion. So banning an AR or banning assault weapons, which nobody can seem to describe to me what an assault weapon is, they say, well, it's militaristic. It's cosmetics. The gun, the AR-15 is no more deadly than a Mini 14, which is a basic hunting rifle for small game. So the knee-jerk reaction is everyone's going to scream through the top of their head, we have to ban. It's not going to do any good. It's not going to do any good because I've got enough experience to know that if I can't kill you with a rifle, I'll use a crossbow. If I can't kill you with that, I'll use a rock. If I can't kill you with that, I'll use a baseball bat. Can't do that, I'll make some homemade explosive devices. Well, like Oklahoma bombing, right? That was fertilizer and diesel. So there's always going to be a way for man to kill another man, and banning these types of weapons isn't going to do any good. It's just not. So yes, this was horrific. And I would say the same thing if this happened to Biden. We don't need to be shooting our politicians just because we don't like what they have to say or you don't agree with them.
Right.
And earlier this week, Biden was on the phone, and they have a transcript of it where he said the following: "It's time to put a target on Trump." Oh, no, he's not target. He said it's time to put a bullseye on Trump. That's the words that he used over the phone in a discussion with multiple people. Now, did Biden mean that? No, of course he didn't. But young impressionable minds like this 20-year-old kid or some other nut job out there, oh, it's time to put a target on Trump. They buy into this stuff and they're zealots. So they do crazy stuff like this. And by all accounts, reading up on multiple sources for this shooting, this kid was a straight A student. He's kind of a loner, but very, very, very smart and very nice to people. He wasn't angry or mean or anything. Nope. So I don't know what got into his head. And the other thing that I read on the shooting itself, multiple people stated that it was 200 to 300 yards, which is an easy shot with that type of rifle with a scope on it. That's I do that all the time out here with my Mini 14. So,
well, you know what else is weird? I was reading up on this guy, and they said that he tried to join the rifle club at his school, the rifle team. I'm like, what school, especially in this day and age, has a rifle team where people are shooting? And they told him not only, no, you cannot be a part of the rifle team, but they said that he couldn't even try out again because he was such a shareable shot that he was dangerous. Somebody could get hurt. And I'm like, what school would train kids to shoot in this day and age? Why are we doing this? That is insane to me that we even have a gun club at a school. Where
it used to be normal, Am. Back when I was growing up, you could take your new gun that you got during Christmas and hang it in the back of your truck in the window, and then you'd let your teachers know, and they'd all come out to see your new rifle in the parking lot of the high school. And a lot of schools had shooting teams, but nobody was getting shot. Times are different. I
Wow.
agree with you, man. Times are different. Uh, yeah.
I could not believe that
Mm,
when I read that, and because he just graduated in 2022. He was a 20-year-old kid. Um
right.
so it is really weird to me that any school, I mean, I can understand, back when, there were no school shootings, like you said, Mike, it was a different time. But today in 2024, when we have mass shootings at schools on a regular basis, which is scary in and of itself, there is a team, a rifle team at a school. That is that is insane to me. I don't understand it. And I will agree that in other places where there are these mass events where there's a person trying to inflict a lot of harm on a lot of people, like there have been in other countries. I think we talked about it before. They're using things like knives and machetes, the stuff like that. And so, while it's true that you do have people who are, whoever is prone to violence and want to be violent, committing a violent act, the amount of damage that they're doing is much less than, say, what happened here in Arkansas a few weeks ago when somebody went to a grocery store and shot up a lot of people. You have the potential to do more harm when you have an automatic rifle that can get off more rounds versus trying to catch somebody with your knife to cut them. It's a bit more of a fair fight, in my opinion, if there must be a fight, for you to be able to fend off somebody with, say, a knife, than somebody who has an automatic weapon. And I'm not just talking about, rifles. I mean, I truly do believe we have, the right to bear arms. That's fine. I don't have a problem with people having guns for protection. I just think that we can regulate the types of guns, how many guns. We can do a lot of other things without barring somebody from having a gun if they
Mhm,
wanted one. And
mhm,
if we don't do anything else, we need to use this as an opportunity to really take a look at the way the path our country's on when it comes to gun violence. It's out of control. It is crazy.
mhm. Right. Mike, I'm not sure where you got your information from, and yours might be accurate, but I'm looking at something entirely different, opposite from what you're saying. During 1994 to 2004 ban, in the years after the assault weapons ban went into effect, the number of deaths from mass shootings fell, and the increase in annual number of incidents slowed down, even including 1999's Columbine school massacre, the deadliest mass shooting during the period of the ban. Uh,
That's
the
not the information that I
1994 to
have.
2000. Well, then, see, this is what I'm talking about. There's information and conflicting information everywhere. I'm not saying that what you read was incorrect, but you can't say what I'm reading is incorrect. Okay. And so I'm not just pulling this out of my head, right? Because I do notice that um, this is just for this show. This is not the first time I heard this. Okay. I think it
Can I?
inspired right after
Can
Obama. He implemented it again. Let me finish, Mike.
okay.
I didn't interrupt you. Okay. The data shows an almost immediate and steep rise in mass shooters' death in the years after the assault weapons ban expired. Breaking into the data into absolute numbers from 2004 to 2017, the last year of this particular analyst analysis, the average number of unit deaths attributed to mass shootings was 25, compared to 5.3 during the 10-year tenure of the ban, and 7.2 in the years leading up to the prohibition of assault weapons. Now, for us to try to say, well, no, it went down, or mass shootings went down because uh, when the ban was lifted, you tell the families that's lost loved ones, tell the people in Columbine, tell them all the people that have lost their children to mass violence, mass shootings. You tell it to them. They don't care if it went down one or two, whether I said or whether you said or not. They want something done. Maybe, Ann, you can come from another source and you can jump on in if you want to. Okay. So, um, a 20-year-old had no business with the AR-15. What does he need with it? You can't hunt with it. It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
matter. Well, who cares? You got
Well,
people that are dead and almost killed the former president of the United States. Who cares? I know you got people out there. You love your guns. You love your guns. And in the free world, we have more guns than anybody. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a gun to protect your family. And if you're a gun collector, someone who's safe, knows how to use it like you do, Mike, more power to you. But what I'm saying is, you go and explain this to people who lost loved ones right now and they have to plan for a funeral. See, that makes absolutely no sense to me. A 20-year-old has no business with an AR-15, period. I don't care what anybody say out there. You're not going to get me to agree with you. Okay. I may not get you to agree with me, but that's no matter. The
well,
idea of having this show is to bring out and disseminate information that we feel to be correct. I feel that I'm correct. You feel that you're correct. So let's come in. Ann, do you have anything?
I wanted to say, you told me to jump in, so I apologize, but I took you at your word, so forgive me. But
Okay.
we were
I
talking
want to hear what
about
you have to say.
this is from the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs,
Okay.
and it's called Fact Sheet Assault Weapons, and this was published in October 2003. So it's been out here
What
for a
year?
while, but 2003. So it's on the
Okay.
Department of Justice's U.S. Department of Justice's Office of Justice Programs website. But it says this paper presents various facts and information pertinent to the rationale and effectiveness of federal and state laws that ban assault weapons. The paper defines an assault weapon as a civilian semi automatic version of a military weapon. Generally, the characteristics of an assault weapon make firearms more lethal, more accurate, and or less conspicuous when used. Federal and state laws also establish specific definitions of an assault weapon for the purposes of regulation. Data are provided on the ownership of assault weapons in the United States prior to the 1994 ban on such weapons, as well as the use of assault weapons in crime before the federal ban. Information on law enforcement officers killed by assault weapons indicates that between January 1st, 1994 and September 30th, 1995, 33 law enforcement officers were killed with an assault weapon or other weapons sold with large capacity magazines affected by the 1994 federal assault weapons ban. Regarding assault weapons injuries, this report notes that although assault weapons currently account for a relatively small proportion of crime guns, these weapons are designed for highly lethal assaults. Information on public opinion shows that national surveys conducted in 2000 and 2002 indicate that between 67% and 71% of adults favor the current federal ban on assault weapons, and 65% of registered voters favor renewal of the 1994 ban. This report also provides information on federal and state laws that ban assault weapons, the effectiveness of assault weapons bans, and the manufacture and sale of copycat weapons. A 1999 study that evaluated the effects of the 1994 federal assault weapons ban found a 20% decrease from 4,077 in 1994 to 3,268 in 1995 in criminal use and police confiscation of assault weapons in the first year of the ban. This decline was twice as large as the overall reduction in crime gun trace requests. Now that's just it's 5 pages long, so I didn't read it all. That's just one page of internet page of what the Department of Justice found in accordance with the federal law ban that used to be in effect, and how they
Okay.
define assault
But
weapons.
but one thing we have to consider, and Mike, I want you to comment on this because this is down your rabbit hole. We know for a fact that a handgun with high capacity magazines can do
Mm-hmm.
more damage in a tighter space than any kind of assault rifle that's around. I'm just stating the facts. I mean, if you go look
Mhm.
at the facts, someone with a Glock 19 and three or four 20-round magazines in a
Mhm.
crowded mall can do more, if not at least the damage that an AR-15 can do. Yes,
Mhm.
a Glock 19 is a 9 millimeter, but
Mhm.
when you have high capacity magazines at close range, it's lethal. It's
Mhm.
lethal. I mean, I
Mhm.
don't know if you've ever seen anybody. I have seen it. I don't wish this on anybody. I've seen people shot with a 223 round. It does
Mm.
devastating things to the body. It makes a
Mhm.
small hole going in and a big, huge hole coming out the backside. It's
Mm.
devastating what a 223 round can do to a human body. Same
Mm.
thing, and Mike, you can comment with most handgun rounds that are 9 millimeter and above, like a 40 caliber, or God forbid, a 45 or 45 long Colt. Those things do devastating things to the human body. And for the
Mhm.
most part, they are designed for one thing and one thing only: killing another human being.
Exactly.
Killing another human being. I mean, handguns I know that we can use them for protection of our home and whatnot, but if you get a deranged lunatic that has
Mhm.
several high
Mhm.
capacity, you can buy them online now, you can buy them at
Mhm.
gun shows. A high capacity magazine, several of them, can do some devastating
Mm.
damage in, a close quarters situation. That's all I want to say.
Mhm.
Okay. Hey, Mike, it's your turn. All right, what I'm gonna say. Uh, I don't see what differences make. Ban those two. Ban high-powered magazines. What do you need them for? What do you
Mm.
need them for? You're not taking away anyone's Second Amendment rights. You're not doing that. Like I said
Well,
again,
the whole
if you
thing
guys
is,
want
though,
to
they
defend
are
this,
banned. They are banned, but people get a hold of
really,
them.
Mm.
Yeah, they are banned.
okay.
Anything
Didn't,
above a 10 round
women hold it?
magazine, law enforcement. Go ahead.
Are you serious right now? And now, didn't the Supreme Court just approve bump stocks? Am I talking about? Is there something different? Doesn't a bump stock make this
No,
thing a
no, no,
higher
no. I'm
powered?
talking about
It does
I'm
not.
talking about high capacity magazines, and Mike knows more about this than I do.
And then I
The
do too.
law states right now you
Get
cannot
rid of
have
it.
anything above 10 rounds in your magazine.
Get
But
rid of it.
most guns will take high capacity magazines. I'm talking about most law enforcement, their handguns, the magazines have 13, 14, up to 15 rounds. And
Mhm.
Mm.
most people can
Okay.
take that and they can modify it with a simple trick to hold 20, 25 rounds. And you can
Mm.
buy the large
That should be illegal.
capacity MAGA. Yeah, it should be, but
Mm.
they are illegal, but people get them and obtain them anyway.
Mm.
Right.
That's the
Mm.
point I'm trying to
And like I
make.
said, ban both of them. Ban both of them. I don't care what you guys say because you got dead people out there. You have dead people out there, and you guys are pumping this thing up, and they got to plan for a funeral. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Mike, it's your turn. Then Dr. Sims, and then back to you, Ann.
Well, let's say hi to Dr. Sims first. Is she there?
She's on. She's muted.
I'm
And
I'm I'm here, but I'm here. Okay.
Okay.
hey, lady.
All right.
Hi.
Okay.
You
Well,
won't
I
Do
hope
you
see
you
need a
me.
feel better.
recap?
You don't sound.
Yeah, she
Do
sounds
I?
like
Sound
she's not feeling well. You okay?
I'm
yeah.
not. No, I'm not. But I'm
Oh,
Okay.
listening, and
I hope you
Okay.
feel
uh,
If you
better
need to
soon.
exit, if you
I
need to
will.
exit, we'll understand. Okay. All right.
I
So, Ann,
understand.
give Dr. Sims a recap, and then we'll go to Mike, and then to you.
Basically, just commenting on the tragedy that took place yesterday. Everybody agrees it was senseless, and that if you want to make a political statement, you should do it with your vote, not through political violence. And we're talking about how hopefully something good can come out of this. But our prayers, of course, are going out to the families who were impacted, but we're hoping, that since this hit in the Republican wheelhouse and they're the ones so against gun control, that this will prompt them, to want to make some changes. And that's where we are. We're going back and forth about that. And it's Mike's turn. Mike, you still there? Hello?
I muted myself. Sorry.
No
There we go.
problem.
I'm back. Uh, I, with all due respect, Miss Ann, that DOJ report is garbage.
Mm,
Let's start with and I know it's garbage because you read a sentence there that said that they're militaristic looking weapons that are
mhm,
made more deadly.
mm,
That is totally so a false
mm.
statement. So that's why I know the rest of the report's probably garbage as well.
Wow.
This AR-15, let's stick to the AR-15 because it likes to be used a lot in conversations. The
Mhm,
AR-15 again is cosmetically changed to look like an M16 military weapon. Cosmetically changed. The function is still the same. It shoots one round with one pull of the trigger, and again, that 223 round, or military, it's known as 5.56. That is
mhm,
a very small rifle caliber, very small. Like Dr. Demer is saying, it's the same size as a 22 in diameter.
mhm,
Uh, in most states, you cannot hunt with it. You can't hunt. Excuse me. Let me correct myself. You cannot hunt deer with a 223 because it's not sufficiently powerful to actually kill the deer humanely. So
mm,
all this bugaboo about the AR-15 is so much more deadly than any other is all garbage. And for that to be in that DOJ report, that tells me that the rest of the report is garbage.
mm,
And getting shot with a 223, and Dr. Jeremy is correct, the bullet tends to tumble or keyhole, so it doesn't go in with the point of the bullet. It goes in kind of on the side, and that can do a great deal of damage. Not unlike hollow point bullets from a 9mm or hollow point bullets from a 45. And if you want to get shot, I guess 223 would probably be the way to go because I don't want to be shot with like a 30-06 or a 308, which are true sniper rounds. That's what
mhm,
they use in law enforcement. They're using 308s, which is probably 3 times larger than a 223. So for everybody to spout that the 223 is so much more deadly than anything on earth is absolute garbage. So
mm,
let me continue here. With regard to outlawing these weapons or banning them, that's again, it's not going to do any good whatsoever because you'll find another way to kill. Man will find another way to kill. If you want this to stop, you have to significantly punish people that use the gun incorrectly. You're trying to ban a weapon that has no mind. It's the minds of these crazy people like this young kid that caused this act to occur. So go after the criminals or the people that misuse the weapons. By banning these weapons from law-abiding citizens, that's not going to do any good. It's just not. Um, uh, Referencing gun crime has been going up over the last, I'm going to say probably 20, 25 years, maybe even longer. It's been steadily increasing year to year. So to
mm,
say that um, that the weapons ban did such a great deal, it did. Um, Let me see. The term assault weapon was actually created by the media because it sounds scary.
mm,
So if they can label this weapon or these assault style weapons as assault rifles, it gets everybody riled up. The media is all about drama. That's how they sell their network or their newspapers or whatever. That's what they do. They want to get people wound up. They want them to buy the newspapers or listen to them on TV. Again, this weapon is the AR-15 is no different than other sporting rifles that look like a regular Woodstock sporting rifle. They function identically the same. So for people to falsely claim that they're more deadly, again, I'm repeating myself, but it's garbage. So now uh, the magazine ban here in
mhm,
California, Dr. Jeremy hit it on the head. You're allowed to have a magazine that will only hold 10 rounds. If you go to other states, you can buy 20 round, 30 round magazines. I have 20 round magazines for my Mini 14 that I got back when everything was still legal. I don't use them because it's against the law here in California. And I believe 3 or 4 days ago, the Supreme Court has kind of indicated that banning large capacity magazines it goes against the Second Amendment. So that's probably going to be overturned. So all the Californians can start screaming with their hair on fire right now because they're going to overturn that because most states do not have that. Now, lastly, I'll finish with this. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak. and I appreciate being part of this panel. I truly do, and I like hearing your other points of view if you have them.
Mhm.
If the weapons ban was so good, it was so good and so wonderful, and did
Mhm.
so much great stuff. Why did they let it sunset, and why didn't they immediately extend it? Because it didn't work. So that report you read from DOJ is absolute garbage. Uh, if it was so great and they could say, see how wonderful everything worked, but they couldn't say it, they couldn't do it, and that's why they let it sundown or sunset, or I'm not sure if I'm using the correct term, but they let it go away because it had like a
Mhm.
10-year expiration or something like that, and
Mhm.
and it didn't work. That's why they let it go away. Thank you again for listening to me, everyone.
No problem at all. Dr. Sims, I think it's your turn. Before we get to Dr. Sims, Emma Brown says, "Hey, good afternoon, Studio W Buzz and guest." And then Katie is on with us too. Hey, Katie, glad to have you with us. Your turn, Dr. Sims.
Okay. I was listening to. I didn't hear all the first part of it. You guys forgive me for being late. PC is acting stupid too, so
I
it
hope
took
you
me a
feel
minute to
better.
get
You
on.
sound like you're under the weather.
Well, what I did was because it was a little cool yesterday, and I opened my windows, getting some air.
Mm,
Didn't know I was letting in the poison, so
mm,
um, that's what's going on. And my allergies. My son is down too. We
mm.
both suffer with bronchial asthma, so he's pretty bad. He's the one who had COVID and almost died, but
Oh
we're
wow.
still here. God is good. But anyway,
Amen.
I was listening, and there's a in light of everything that happened on yesterday. It I was saddened. Despite of who we like and dislike, nobody deserves what transpired yesterday. Nobody
Mm,
deserves
mhm.
that. I don't care how ugly the person is in their persona. Nobody, nobody
Right,
has that right to take a
right,
life because that's not in
right.
their hands to do. And so,
Mhm,
because this man has a family too,
mhm,
okay, just like everybody else's life has been taken
mhm,
unnecessarily because somebody has hate. And I
mhm,
believe that everything is being spewed out to cause a divide, and it's working,
mhm,
which causing a
mhm,
nation divide. And I think that's wrong. And God ain't in there nowhere. And so
mm,
I don't want to get started on that because I'm thoroughly upset because it's basically taking really the rights and belief, as far as I'm concerned, out of the nation's, the people's hands, and they are
mm,
at war within themselves.
mm,
And within the White House, they're at war within themselves, not
mm,
considering the people. And so, if they had considered the people, they would listen to us a little more closely. But anyway, getting off of that, when you're talking about guns, excuse me,
mhm,
when I went to purchase my gun, my son was with me, the one who was the captain on the police force. He went to with me to purchase my gun, and I
mhm,
wanted a gun that had 20 rounds, 30 rounds. Uh,
mhm.
me not knowing,
Right, right.
I don't know what I was getting. Well, I know what I was getting ready for, um,
Mhm.
but I wanted to be armored up because I
Right.
knew things are getting ready to get bad.
Mhm,
But they too, Mike, they said I couldn't have. I had to have a clip that had 10
mhm,
rounds, but I could buy an extra clip. But I bought a lot of bullets.
mhm,
But my thing is, when we're talking about the arsenry that was used on yesterday, we're talking about banning. And I heard Mike, and I agree with you, Mike, because you can pass all the laws you want to. When you and I were talking, I wrote down black market
mm,
because
Oh
you
yeah.
have guns that are being sold during the black market, and
mhm,
they will get those guns out. And I'm going to say that, and they may have to call me or whatever, but I think the government has a lot of hand in that. I think because it's not censored the way it should be, and you're getting guns in children's hands. You're getting guns in people's hands who got mental issues, but they can purchase it through black market without registry. And so, how do you stop that? It's underground. I'll call it underground railroad arsenry
mhm,
that is being sold And people, like you said, you can have this like this law, but how are they going to monitor it? Excuse me. And it's very difficult to monitor. Are you going to go to everybody's house? Are you going to search
Mm,
everybody's premises? Are you going to do that? You cannot. And so it's out of hand. It's out of control. They can talk about band law all they want to, but they need to capitalize, as far as I'm concerned, on the black market and getting these things out into the street, just like drugs. There is a heavy black market out there, and I know we're not into drugs, but drugs, guns, all of that, lies, all of that goes into play. And people have strange desires these days to harm. They harm innocent. It's a travesty. So we're at an all-out war. We haven't seen anything yet.
mm,
We're at an all
mm,
war.
mm,
We have not seen anything yet. Yesterday was another handwriting on the wall.
mhm.
And so I hear people say it, and even some of my family members say, "Arm yourself, girl," because people are getting out of hand. They have no value for life, respect for life, and so I think this is just a travesty. The division, the divide is crazy, and
Mm.
so that's just my take on it.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I think you missed the part where I read off something, a stat that disagrees with you and Mike, and Ann did the same thing. She did her research, and so, like I said, we don't go. Our feelings don't mean a thing on this program. We're going by facts, and it is a fact. Then President Obama, he
Mm.
put in a 10-year ban on that. Okay, you may or may not like him. It doesn't matter. It really
Talking
doesn't
about
matter.
black
He got
market, black
he got.
market.
Let me finish. I didn't interfere. I didn't interrupt you, Dr. Sims. It doesn't matter. Yeah, you talking about black market. There's always been a black market ever since we were children. Okay, there's always been a black market,
Before you were
and see,
children.
it's always been there.
Mhm,
Okay, always been there. So, but see, you also have legislators that block the federal government from going after certain things. You got
mhm,
some clowns in that Republican Party that they block everything. You guys talk about the borders wide open. Well, who blocked the bill that would have made a significant difference in illegal border crossings? The Republicans did. Okay.
mhm,
And they did it because Trump told them to. Now you have somebody who's not in the White House, not in control of anything, yet he dictate everything that this corrupt, this corrupt Republican Party does. I'm not saying that the Democrats are innocent. I am not saying that at all. Please and please don't. Uh, there corruption. There's corruption across the board. Okay. But before we start blaming the president, okay, let's look at our Congress, let's look at our Senate, and let's look at that Supreme Court. Though that Supreme Court is packed with corruption, okay,
mhm,
and three of which Trump put them there. He put them there to protect him. That is an absolute fact. Okay, so we yes address the black market, but then when you're gonna handcuff the DOJ, when you're gonna handcuff the FBI, well, you say, well, we're not going to fund you. We're not going to do this, okay? You want to go in this direction, we will go in that direction until we get the right person in. And when they get the person they want in, he does absolutely nothing. I'm going to switch subjects right now because we've got a lot to unpack here. We've got a lot on. And I wish Mike would come back here. Boy, oh boy, I've got something for him. Okay, but let's do this. Uh, and we'll talk about, because of time, let's do this. Okay? All right.
Wrong. Political violence is bad. Political violence brings nothing but chaos. These are things that I have been saying for years while living under a presidency of Donald Trump. While watching a campaign in 2015 and 2016 of Donald Trump, where he promoted violence, he encouraged violence, he incited violence, he inspired violence, not only as a candidate, but also as a president. The right now is apoplectic over the shooting at Donald Trump, as well. I guess they should be, but it should not be a surprise to them what took place. I tweeted this yesterday that when you promote and encourage violence in politics, eventually you're going to reap what you sow. It's not that I'm happy that this happened, because I am not happy that this happened. If anything, this elevates Donald Trump's chances of winning in November. This should be for you a moment of clarity and action, a moment for you to get involved, because now we're at a deficit more than we were. 20-year-old white male Republican Thomas Matthew Crooks, took a shot at Donald Trump yesterday at a rally in Pennsylvania. This was not staged. This was not a hoax. An innocent person at that rally lost their life. A family no longer has a member. This wasn't a hoax. It wasn't staged. Also, the maniacal white male Republican also lost his life. The GOP does not have moral high ground on this matter. They're gonna whine and complain and cry their crocodile tears to try to elicit sympathy from the media and the country, but they have responsibility for some of this. Not all of it, obviously. The actions of a deranged lunatic with whatever motivations we don't know yet, it falls on him. It falls on failures of the Secret Service, which I'm going to talk about in a subsequent video to this. But I want us to keep our eye on the prize and understand what is at play here. And I want to talk about that very thing in this video. The fact that the GOP has for years and years and years snickered, laughed, mocked, made fun of, belittled people who were the victims of political violence. And now that it's their guy, it's, this is the Democrats' fault. There's no place for political violence when it's their guy. But when it's Paul Pelosi, who is viciously attacked with a hammer, bashing his head in, cracking his skull, nearly killing him, it was jokes all around from Donald Trump. And we're going to get to that. Donald Trump has called his political opponents vermin. He has called immigrants animals. He's warned of a bloodbath if he doesn't win in November. And all of this creates an atmosphere, a toxic soup of malevolence, where people who are disturbed or troubled take action. Wrong, immoral, chaos-bringing action. But what do they expect to happen? What do Republicans think the outcome will be when their guy promotes, incites, encourages, inspires violence? Remember the aftermath. We'll go back to this, the Paul Pelosi thing. Here's Donald Trump with his own mouth addressing the attack on Paul Pelosi. Wonder if he would be singing a different tune today. At the end of this, I'm going to read a post on True Social from him. But remember this moment in the aftermath of the vicious, very frightening attack on the, at the time, Speaker of the House's husband, Paul Pelosi.
And we'll stand up to crazy Nancy Pelosi, who ruined San Francisco. How's her husband doing, by the way? Anybody know? And she's against building a wall at our border, even though she has a wall around her house, which obviously didn't do a very good job.
Wasn't just Donald Trump either. It was his dopey son, Don Jr. Got my Paul Pelosi Halloween costume ready, a pair of underwear and a hammer. And now They're whining to all high heaven about political violence. Hypocrites and liars. And who are you, Republicans? I want these actions for thee, but not for me. I will gallivant and go about my day mocking political violence and encouraging it, inciting an insurrection against the country, a violent, deadly insurrection. But then when a little blood is shed on Donald Trump, it's a whole different story. Remember the kidnapping plot against the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer? Donald Trump had some stuff to say about that. And spoiler alert, it wasn't empathetic. It wasn't sympathetic. He called it a hoax or a fake deal.
As another example, the sting that they did involving Gretchen Whitmer was fake, just like those who instigated January 6th. It was a fake deal. Fake. It was a fake deal. Gretchen Whitmer was in less danger than the people sitting in this room right now, it seems to me. And you look to see what happened, and trials are going on all over the place. And I guess a lot of people, Tudor, are being exonerated, aren't they? Huh? They're being exonerated.
And of course, it wouldn't be a Jesse Dollemore Daily video without talking about the violent, deadly insurrection and Donald Trump's response when told about the chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," while a hangman's gallows was on the lawn of the United States Capitol for ready use against Mike Pence. Listen to Liz Cheney explain what Donald Trump's reaction was that was sworn testimony in their depositions.
Supporters at the Capitol, and I quote, "We're doing what they should be doing." This is what he told his staff as they pleaded with him to call off the mob, to instruct his supporters to leave. Over a series of hearings in the coming weeks, you will hear testimony, live and on video, from more than half a dozen former White House staff in the Trump administration, all of whom were in the West Wing of the White House on January 6th. You will hear testimony that, quote, "The president did not really want to put anything out, calling off the riot or asking his supporters to leave." You will hear that President Trump was yelling and, quote, "really angry at advisors who told him he needed to be doing something more." And aware of the rioters' chants to hang Mike Pence, the president responded with this sentiment, quote, "Maybe our supporters have the right idea. Mike Pence, quote, deserves it." You will hear evidence that President Trump refused for hours to do what his staff, his family, and many of his other advisors begged him to do: immediately instruct his supporters to stand down and evacuate the Capitol.
And all of this gets seeded in the brains of MAGA world. Remember a few months ago when this doofus, this moron in Long Island was driving around with his truck with Joe Biden depicted as hogtied on the back? Mm-hmm. This is what you get with the "Let's Go Brandon" violent rhetoric. This is what you get. And if you're out there saying, well, yeah, well, that's one guy, this has nothing to do with Trump necessarily, I would just point your attention to Donald Trump actually posting a picture of this on Truth Social. 3/28/24, Long Island, New York, celebrating a depiction of his political opponent and the current seated United States president hogtied, subject to violence, kidnapping. So who was the shooter? Well, a few things he wasn't. We can talk about what he was. The white, male, registered Republican, young man. He wasn't a Democrat. He wasn't an immigrant. He wasn't a woman seeking an abortion. He wasn't Antifa or a Black Lives Matter supporter. Got a couple other things here. He wasn't gay or lesbian, transgender. He wasn't a drag queen. He was a white, young male Republican. And also, let's just say to the audience, to you, the Democrat in the audience who's a regular viewer, we should check ourselves when trying to find some cogent political philosophy out of this person, some motivation that we can understand. Because when John Hinckley Jr. tried to assassinate Ronald Reagan in 1981, I believe in April, like he had just taken office. It wasn't for some sane reason that we could wrap our brains around. No, he didn't like this policy or he didn't like the suits that he wore. It was to impress Jodie Foster. It was unhinged. It was psychotic, probably literally and clinically. So we need to pump our brakes a little bit until we really get to the bottom of what this person's motivations were. I'm going to read a little bit from this Washington Post article about who he was. Crooks was 20 years old from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, about 40 miles south of Butler, the location of Saturday night's Trump rally, the FBI said. Crooks was registered as a Republican, according to Pennsylvania's voter status records. The suspected shooter used an AR-15 style semi-automatic rifle to carry out the attack, a U.S. official and another person familiar with the investigation said, speaking on the condition of anonymity to discuss a probe that is still in its early stages. So that's really about all we know right now. White, male, Republican. With free and easy access to a weapon of war. Another thing Republicans promote, encourage, incite, inspire. There will not be a reflective look on what their policies are and the things that they promote and believe. There won't be. There will be pointing fingers and projection and lies and subterfuge and distraction on the part of Republicans. And it's already beginning. That'll be the next video that I do. It won't be a sober-minded look back at, what did we do? Where did we go wrong? What are the policies that we put forth or the policies that we throw obstruction against for progress? Here's Donald Trump's post on Truth Social. I want to thank the United States Secret Service and all of law enforcement for their rapid response on the shooting that just took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Most importantly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person, at the rally who was killed, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured. It is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. Is it incredible, Donald Trump? Is it incredible? Is it unexpected? No self-reflection whatsoever. It is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. Nothing is known at this time about the shooter other than what I've already told you, who is now dead. I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong in that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through my skin. Much bleeding took place, so I realized then what was happening. God bless America. This is where we are. I would just caution everybody. We don't want this because look, if you're expecting me to be like, oh, Donald Trump, I feel so bad. I hope he's okay.
Okay. All right, I'm going to stop that right there for a second. Okay. All right, panel, let's come back to the set here. Okay. Something else that's being left out, and I may have another clip on that, but there's a couple of other clips I need to play, different subjects. What I found out was that immediately after Joe Biden found out that Trump had been shot, what did he do? He called him. He called him. Okay? Couldn't get in contact with him right away because he was with his doctors. That's understandable. He called him back and talked to him. And And if you notice over the last couple of days, he has given press conferences and he talked about what a horrific event it was, and that shouldn't happen in the United States, and that
Mhm.
Trump should be allowed to uh, uh, have his rallies unabated. He should have his rallies without, uh, any
Yeah,
interference
fearful of
from.
his life. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Now that's class.
Mhm.
Okay. On the other hand, when Pelosi's husband, when his head was almost bashed in with a hammer. I don't care what you can say about Nancy Pelosi. Whether you're on the right, you're on the left, or you're in the center, we should not, and we do not here on this station condone violence of any kind. Now, you guys already know how I feel about Trump, and my thing is, I don't care if Biden is in a coma. I'm still voting for him. Those are two that I have left. I'm serious about that because I'm telling you right now, this man is dangerous. He is
Mm.
extremely dangerous. What did he say about Governor? Oh, he made jokes about Nancy's husband. Okay, he was doing a rally. Say, "Oh, how's your husband doing?" I'll say, "Oh, she had a wall around her house. Oh, how did that work out for you?" That is cruel. That's evil. That is vile. And if you still want to vote for a guy like this, then that's your business. You're grown. All of you out there. I'm not necessarily talking to the panel. I'm talking about anybody out there that's considering this guy. I'm not here to convince you, but perhaps if you had some proper facts, you can make a more informed decision. So you want someone representing us to the world, 34 convicted felon, convicted rapist, okay, fraudster, not only in New York, okay, with a over $400 million judgment, but what about Trump University, where he had to pay back $25 million? Oh, remember the Trump charity, where he owed them another $2 million and cannot open up another charity in New York. He wants to take away women's rights, all right? And he also the guy to talk about grabbing women by the genitals. Any decent woman out there, you gonna vote for this guy?
Mm.
Okay. Um, take away your voting rights. Okay. And remember back in the 70s, him and his dad were convicted of discrimination for not renting to black people. If a black person came to their complexes, they would put a C on that application. So don't even think about talking to me about voting for this clown. It's not going to happen. Like I said, if Biden was in a coma, let's see, another thing you think, oh, he's too old. Well, yeah, Trump is old too. But keep in mind, he also has a VP. He has a VP. And a lot of you guys say, I heard something stupid this week. Well, she's a DEI hire. Let me
Yep.
correct this.
Yep.
Nope.
We
She
voted
was
for
elected.
her.
She was elected. She was not hired. She was elected by over $81 million. And you million
How
people.
did
And
she
if you
get there?
look, how did she get
Wow.
there? Well, she
That's
started from the
amazing.
ground up. Oh,
Why was
did
she
you ask
elected?
about why was she elected?
Wow.
Because
Why was she
guess what? The
elected?
people
Be honest.
saw. Well,
The
let me
will of the
finish.
people. It was the
Don't
will of the
ask a
people.
question if you don't want the answer.
I'm sitting
Because
here
she
listening.
has credentials. Well,
Yeah.
guess what? You
Well,
can
let's
listen if you
let's ask
will
Willie.
allow
Let's
me.
ask
If you can
Willie.
allow,
Let's ask Willie
if
Brown
you
about
allow,
her
if you
credentials.
allow me to talk,
I'm a
if you allow me to
referee.
talk, then you
I'm a
can hear.
referee. I'm a referee. One at
Okay,
a time,
if you allow
please.
me to talk, Mike, because rarely did I interrupt you during this broadcast. But you won't jump in and interrupt me when I'm making a point. She was qualified, my friend. Okay, remember she started in San
Wow.
Francisco. She was there, wasn't she? She was also
Wow.
elected to the Senate. Okay, and she was selected to the VP role because she was the best qualified, and she still is. Now,
Oh,
historically,
God.
historically, you never know what the VP does. I didn't hear you say anything when that dumb Mike Pence was vice president. You don't
I'm
ever
not a
hear
big
about the vice
fan of him
president.
either.
Well, guess what? Throughout history, Mike, you don't hear anything about what the vice president is doing. Do those bills that Biden was able to accomplish successfully, like the CHIPS Act, the Infrastructure Act, putting more money back into communities and whatever you want to say. Don't you think she was part of it? She is the VP. Come on. Let's use some common sense here. She is qualified. And it's insulting, Mike, for you to say she's a DEI hire. That's
She is.
insulting.
She is.
Well, that's your opinion.
Wow.
That's your opinion.
It is my opinion.
Okay, well, you're wrong.
Well,
You,
I
you,
have a
you,
question. I have a question for Mike. Well, Mike, do you consider yourself a DEI hire on the Boomerang? Is that how you see this?
that's a good question.
I'm not sure where you're going with that.
Oh, that's easy to interpret.
Well, I mean, you're the only white person here. So do you see yourself as being uh, William asking you because he wanted diversity, equity, and inclusion on the show? Because that's what DEI stands for:
I
diversity,
would
equity,
think
and inclusion.
right. I would think not. I hope he asked me and included me on the show because he sees me as a free thinker, and that
Mhm.
I can think in more than just one hysterical direction at once.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't see myself as DEI.
Well,
Okay,
so
well, great.
so do you
Go ahead,
think
Ken.
that the rest of the country made that same type of choice when we chose the Biden Harris ticket?
I can answer that by asking you first, why was she selected? And I'll
Because he
answer it for
chose
you.
her.
Why did he choose her? Because she
That's
was multicultural. She was Asian and black,
And
and she was
smart.
female,
And smart.
and she was young. She was chosen because of DEI, and there's nothing you're going to be able to tell me that if you asked 100 people on the street, how did she get the job? They're going to tell you because she was multiracial, female, and young. Those are facts.
And smart. And no, that is not true. She was qualified, Mike.
Well, hold
You
on.
know, guess what? There's something. Okay, go on, Ann.
Hold on. It's one thing for President Biden to select her to be his running mate for those reasons if that was his subjective reasoning for doing so. It's another thing for a majority of America to vote on a ticket that included her simply
Mhm.
because of those reasons. So you're saying everybody who voted for her for those reasons. You think that he picked her to be his running mate?
They were choosing Biden because he was the safe one to choose, and because he brought in this DEI person to be on the ticket with him that would get him votes. That's what politicians do. They're all about getting votes, and they don't care what they got to do to get those votes. And I'm not a fan of either side, by the way. So don't pigeonhole me into being a Trump lover or
Well,
something
you
like
just
that. 'Cause I'm not.
well,
I
you're
don't.
choosing sides.
I
You're
didn't call
choosing
you a
sides.
Trump lover.
No,
I'm
no,
not
and
saying
you
you're a
didn't.
Trump lover. I'm just
I don't
asking
know.
questions. That's
I'm
all.
just
So
trying to be
I'm sorry if
clear.
I offended you. I didn't mean to.
No, you
No,
haven't
he's not
offended me.
offended.
No, I appreciate what all of you have to say. None of you
Yeah.
have offended me. You defend me if you don't speak your mind. That would offend me.
Well, good.
That would offend me if you don't say what's really on your mind. And because I'm sticking myself out here, I'm laying my heart's on my sleeve. I'm saying what I truly believe to be true. And she
Well,
was not qualified. She came up the ranks because of Willie Brown,
who?
and you know it, Wayne.
Oh,
That was the no. I do not know that he was a black mayor in San Francisco. She's more qualified than Willie Brown. She's more qualified than that. Look at her
She might have
credentials,
been.
Mike. You have not looked.
Might have
You
been.
have not looked at that woman's
What has
resume.
she
You
done?
have not
What has she
looked at
done?
it. You talk,
What has she done?
you're spewing talking points that some right wing people are saying, and they've turned DEI into a bad thing. Now I'm gonna ask a question. Let me ask you a
What has
question.
she done, William?
What has she
What has
done?
she done? What has she
She
accomplished?
goes around, Mike.
Okay, I'm going to referee
Goes
again.
around
I'm,
she goes around
I'm
cackling.
interrupting
That's an
again.
accomplishment. What'd she do on the border as the borders are? Nothing.
I'm
Well, she can't
refereeing
do
Sorry,
anything.
again.
sorry, Ann. I
She
apologize
can't.
Oh,
to
no, no,
Ann,
no, no,
not to
no,
you.
no,
Do
no, no.
anything.
I
Let
just
Ann
want to dial
referee.
back the heat a
Let
little
Ann
bit.
referee.
I just want to dial back the
Well,
heat a
good.
little bit.
Well, let me know when I can jump in the ring,
Okay,
coach.
no
You've been
problem.
jumping in.
No problem. And I
Oh, no,
do hate, I really do hate to interrupt and talk over you guys, but at the same time,
no,
you
go
two
on.
have been friends for a very long time.
And
And
we're
And
that's
going to
I
not
be
going to
after
think
this
that
change.
program is
I
over.
I I
That won't be
think
changing.
it will be my job to make sure that that friendship is preserved on and off the air. So I'm going to jump in real quick and say this to a certain degree, Mike. I can see your point. Um, you do have in Kamala Harris an immigrant, an African American woman, who is married to a Caucasian man with white stepchildren. She is the embodiment of the American dream. She's everything America stands for. So so if he chose her because of that, I think he made a very good choice. I think he made an excellent choice because that is why people come to this country. That is why this country has said historically, give me your poor. We have encouraged people to come here. Um, so to put up a shining beacon of the exact opposite of what Donald Trump and the Republicans and anybody else um claims to against immigration and all that other stuff, in my opinion, she fits the bill to a T, that this is what America is. We are the country where dreams can come true if you come here and you work hard. um you have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So in that regard, if that is the reason why he chose her, I say he made a very good choice. I say it was a smart thing to do because she is all of that. In terms of who she is and whether or not she's qualified, I believe in the past I've talked about her qualifications because I've chosen her, I think during Black History Month or whatnot, and how she was the first African American to do this and to do that and to do this in so many different categories, including being Vice President of the United States. She has a law degree. She's been a part of the lawmaking process and the law enforcement process, as well as the interpretation as her job as a prosecutor. Can I make a case here? Can I make a case there? And that guy, I think I remember him as the one who she had an affair with, if I'm not mistaken. And because I think I did hear rumors about them being together and him boosting her career. We all make mistakes. Um, and so if that's the one that everybody wants to point to about Kamala Harris, okay, she's not the first politician to have an affair.
That's true.
Elected quite a few of those. If I'm gonna ding her for something, it's because I don't agree with the marijuana thing, and she's okay with that, and I don't agree with all the, well, I won't say it's free, but legalizing marijuana, I don't think is the way to go. But I believe that she is uniquely qualified, that she has the knowledge, the skills, the expertise, the experience to be not only the vice president, but if something were to happen to President Biden, the president. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't know this. For a very short period of time, Kamala Harris has been president of the United States. President Biden underwent a procedure, I guess it was a couple of years ago, and he had to be put under anesthesia. Guess who was president? Because he was unable and unfit at that point to carry out his duties as president while he underwent that procedure. So technically, we've had two Black presidents in the United States and one female and female Black president. So she's proven that she can do the job because she's already done it, even if for a brief period of time she's done it. But she's also proven it because she has the background, the knowledge, the skills, the training, the expertise to do it. And that's just my personal opinion.
Mhm.
Just like it's your opinion that she's not qualified. I think those things that you say, her being a quote unquote DEI hire of Biden's, um, I think if that was his decision making, that it was smart, and that because she is the embodiment of the American dream.
Can I say one
Absolutely.
thing?
Let me.
I want
Yes,
to
please.
comment on that fact because I am one of few black pastors in an all white denomination.
Mm,
Now, we get um, criticized from time to time, saying that we are a part of my denomination that gets criticized vehemently on all different corners. But when I
mm,
was on my review board, and we have to go through an extensive background check, we have to go through an extensive psychological um, battery, we have to go through severe education requirements. When I was on my board, and I asked them, I all white. I said, "Am I here because of DEI?" They said, "Absolutely not." They said, "You are
mm,
here because you are qualified. You have passed all the tests that have brought you thus far." So, I mean, I think we throw that term around, loosely, and we throw it around sometimes in defense of where we are. But I can tell you from one being on the end where you could easily be accused of being part of this DEI phenomena. It is, I think, to those of us who are qualified. I have a BA degree earned from UC Riverside. I have a master's degree from the School of Theology at Claremont. I have a PhD from Fuller Theological Seminary, earned. And for someone to say that I got my process within my denomination because of DEI, to me, that would be really offensive. But I
mm,
asked them because I
Mhm.
wanted to know, I wanted to hear their opinion on what
mm,
was going on. So for me, the role was flipped, on the other side, because I was on the other end. Um, and I wanted to know, maybe somewhat joking in a sense, because I knew that my denomination doesn't believe in DEI, but I asked them, am I here because of DEI? And they said, absolutely
Mhm.
not. So I think we have to be
Mhm.
careful how we throw that term around because it can be
Mhm.
used, just like they used to use affirmative action.
it's the
Well,
same
you're here
thing.
because
Yeah,
you made it because of affirmative
it's the
action.
same thing.
And that was the same thing they said to me when I
Mm,
was, the only black police officer on Redlands Police Department. They said, "Well, you're here because of, affirmative action." Well, I was
right.
more qualified than the majority of the people on the department.
Mhm.
You know, Multilingual,
Mhm.
college degree, and the majority of them, probably 95% of them, didn't even have degrees.
Mm,
Were basically just out of high school. So, the point is, I think we have to be very careful when we throw that term around DEI because it can be miscued and turned around to mean different kinds of things. And
Mhm.
being on both ends of the spectrum, I can tell you it is quite interesting to see it from both sides, from where Mike is, and from where Ann is, and from where William is. It's quite interesting to
Mhm.
see how that whole thing plays itself out.
Can I jump
Right.
in for a
Okay, I want to
minute?
go to. Yes, please. I was going to go to you next anyway.
Okay, I just wanted to say I agree with what the discussion is, with, especially with Kamala Harris. And as Dr. Demery was talking, I reflect back on how, we get put in certain positions based on the analogy somebody sees your potential. And so I'm not saying this for the White House, but I'm just saying that with her being in that position, to me, it makes her more qualified because she's had to learn the ins and outs. You don't know the ins and outs until you're put in that position. Not taken away from her education at all. We're so quick to say, and I have to reflect back even on my life. They say that why would you put her in that position? She's not, and people are saying qualified, but the determination that I had to make it work. So I took the steps to learn. And so I'm sure she's shadowing the president. She has to shadow the president to learn the ins and outs of things to come because, like you said, Anne, she has to step in when he's not able to do so. If something pre-adventure, something happens, she has to be able to run this nation. And my thing is, if she's not, willing to learn, because as educated as we are, we still have to learn even more on how it works and how it operates,
Mhm.
because our level of understanding could be limited in certain areas. And that's just a known fact. We don't get into something we know it all. We have to learn
Mhm.
how the legislature works. We have to learn the ins and outs. And I'm sure that
Mhm.
as she goes, she's being schooled. And that's one of the things I give her kudos for, because she's being schooled, not taken away from her education while stepping into that position. Because I look at it like this, it just enhances what you're carrying, taking to the plate.
Mhm. Excellent point. And I agree because let's break down. See, this is what I have a real problem with. And like Dr. Demery say, please be careful how you repeating some of these right wing talking points. America claimed, if you look at what the founding fathers claimed, it is DEI, even though it hasn't produced what it should have produced. Let's break it all. Let's unwrap this. Diversity, and this is why this offends me so much. Are we saying that you have to be of a certain skin color? Are you saying that uh, we shouldn't have diversity? If you have diversity, that includes everybody. However, got a little caveat. Well, not necessarily a caveat, but you have to be qualified. This is where that talking point about DEI loses all flavor. But I'm telling you right now, are you saying we aren't supposed to be diverse? Are you trying to say that Mexicans and Chinese and Black and other ethnic groups, they shouldn't get a chance? Diversity only means that you get a shot at the table. It doesn't give you a leg up. And I think, Mike, this is where a lot of people have been misled. Give me an example.
If somebody
Ann is a
is,
lawyer.
oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
If Ann's a lawyer and then went on to be a judge, do you think that she was hired for DEI? She had to pass that bar exam, which is the hardest exam to pass anywhere in the world.
Chances are
Okay?
she earned it.
Whoever however she obtained the job, they didn't say, "Oh, well, you didn't pass, or you're gonna get the job anyway." That does not happen. That is not the real world. Okay, let's clarify that. DEI, you have to understand, DEI and affirmative action have opened doors that were closed in the past. And
Yeah, if
understand that
you
some
have
people don't understand
credentials.
that you have to have the credentials. A lot of people don't understand that because they don't really know. Oh, because you have these power brokers out here, or you have these people out here with these lame talking points. DEI, DEI. They don't know what the hell it means. They have no idea what it means. Okay. The second hardest exam to pass is the stockbroker's exam. I wasn't hired by Morgan Stanley, one of the largest firms in the world, because of DEI. Because I'm gonna tell you something. It was almost like a revolving door, and I was sitting there, and while I was passing my exam, and then after I passed my exam, and I officially became a stockbroker. Okay, and I graduated in New York from Morgan Stanley. I did not get the job because of DEI. Morgan Stanley, they're strict. If you flunked that Series 7, you just lost your job. Then my job in the first 6 to 8 months was to study. That's all I had to do. I couldn't trade because I wasn't qualified at that time to trade. I couldn't negotiate. I couldn't do anything like that. My job was to pass that Series 7. That was the most serious thing on the table. And I'm gonna tell you something. There was only, and what they would do, they would bring on uh, 2 or 3 or 4 people every week. And when my small tiny little class, or I would just say little conference, it was only 3 of us. Okay, it was me and 2 white guys. Okay, and one, he tried to sabotage me. He ended up flunking.
Mm,
He ended up flunking. The day after the exam, he flunked.
mm,
He flunked. He had to pack up and leave right away.
Mm.
I wasn't hired because of DEI. I was hired because I was qualified. Had nothing to do with DEI. You and I
You
had
earned
a
it.
I earned it. Mike, see, this is what you have to understand. The people who get these positions, they have earned it and they are qualified.
Mm.
They are qualified.
If you let me speak, I've
We
got
and you
something
and
to say
I,
about that.
hold on one second. You and then I'll let you have the floor. You and I had a conversation off air last week, and we talked about DEI. And they were talking about, oh, I've got this clip I got to play by Charlie Kirk coming up here. And we talked about this because there are people saying, oh, they're hiring black pilots because of DEI. They're hiring black pilots because of DEI. Anybody think that, you got to be the dumbest person on the planet. Because American Airlines, United Airlines, all these airlines, do you think they're going to put an unqualified person in that cockpit and risk losing their entire business? Say you put somebody in there that's not qualified.
I've
Well,
got an answer.
you know what's going to happen. Well, you know what's going to happen. There's going to be an investigation. Anytime there's a crash, there's an investigation. And they say, "Oh, you hired this C student? Oh no. Oh, you done lost your business. You just lost it." It does not happen. I don't care DEI, AI. I don't care what you say. It doesn't make any sense. They're not going to lose their business because they hired somebody. They've got to be qualified. And so please understand that. Okay. Now, equity. Are you against that? Oh, so you're trying to say me that only a certain?
I'm trying to get a word in edgewise here, and you're
Well,
not.
I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let you have it as soon as I finish.
Okay.
Are you saying equity? I'm trying to break it down so we'll understand, Mike. Because I do not agree with you at all on this. Because what you're saying is
Okay.
factually incorrect. Equity. Are you trying to say that only a certain class of people supposed to share in the equity of this nation? Hmm. Okay, that sounds not right to me. Inclusion. Are you saying that those of a certain skin color shouldn't be included? So I'm just going to say to you guys out there that says DEI, because you take stupid people like Don Jr. and his dad, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Okay, and these other Republican pundits, they toss around DEI like it's a bad word. Actually, it's a good word. So, Mike, the floor is yours.
Really? Well, thank you. So
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm going to poke a big hole in your DEI
Really?
rhetoric there.
I'm waiting for it.
Okay. Here we go. So let's say we've got 10 people that are
Mhm.
applying for a specific position,
Yep.
and there's a diversity within the group. There's
Mhm.
people of all different races, beliefs, genders, whatever.
Mhm.
And there's 10 people there. Do you think it's okay to pass over the most qualified person to give a still qualified person, but based on their let's use race?
No.
So you've got 10 people, and the most qualified person doesn't get the job because there was somebody that was still qualified, but they were a different race, so they got the job. Do you think that's fair for even a
Nope.
second?
I've answered that. Nope, I do not. Bring the most qualified person. I don't care if he's white. If he's more qualified than me, then he deserves the job.
This is my point. You should be hiring based on qualifications.
But
The
see
most
what happened.
qualified, not a qualified person, but the most qualified person. And what
Okay.
DEI does is they allow. Hang on. I'll let you
That's no
talk.
word.
DEI allows them to hire people that aren't the most qualified, or to hire or not hire based on race or gender or whatever else you want to throw into the DEI hodgepodge.
Uh-huh.
They are not hiring the most qualified person. The first thing on their mind is, how do we diversify? How do we get people of other beliefs or religions or whatever involved? That's what's going on with DEI, and that's wrong, because you got hired because of your qualifications, William. Dr. Demery got hired because of his qualifications, period. Anne was hired, I'm pretty certain, because of her qualifications. And I'm going to say Dr. Sims was probably hired because of her qualifications. I was hired because of my qualifications. It had nothing to do with giving favoritism, non-selecting somebody so they can select somebody else of color or whatever category you want to choose is wrong. We should never be selecting people by any of those measures. We should be selecting people based on their ability to do the job the best. So out of those 10 people, number one, who was the most qualified, should get hired. I don't care if he's white, black, green, purple, it doesn't matter to me. The most qualified person, William.
Oh,
That's
well,
what I said. I agree.
the both of you have
I'm
had,
not
had,
disagreeing.
had the both of you have gone back and forth on that. I do have one thing that I'd like to point out to you both, and that is there are instances, quite a few instances, and I'm sure Reverend Demery and Dr. Sims are aware of this, where you have had people who on paper appear to be qualified.
True.
They
Come on.
have the
Hmm.
the book smarts, so to speak,
Right.
or they were able to pass tests, so to speak. But when it
Right.
comes to the application of what
That
they've
part.
learned,
Right.
they are not good at doing that.
Then they're
When
not
it
qualified.
comes to no, no, what employers should look at, if we're going by the standard that you and William both agree on, who's most qualified, is do you have the education? Do you have the training? Do you have the knowledge? Do you have the experience, the expertise to get the job done? And if you look what's neatly written on this resume,
Right.
and possibly at places that they worked before, it could appear that this person has checked all the boxes. But when you put them in the position,
That part.
you learn they're dumb as nails.
Okay.
Because you can pass a test, but you cannot put into
That's right.
into right. You can't put into practice what you've learned. Anybody can memorize,
True.
and a lot of people do that and do that extremely well. So
Hmm.
so when we're talking about choosing the person that's best qualified, it's a
Mhm.
whole lot more that goes into that than just looking at, did you get perfect scores? Did you
Hmm.
go to the school with the right pedigree? Um, a lot of those places will not only have interviews with you, not only look at your resume, but then they introduce you to the group to see how you interact with everybody else, because
Hmm.
a whole lot of people do well on tests, a whole
Hmm.
lot of people get licenses, but they are idiots. First of all, second, they work your last nerve. They will make working with them a living hell because
Mhm.
they're full of themselves, or
Very
they're
true.
just mean, or whatever the case may be. So when you are hiring somebody, and I say this as a person who deals with unemployment issues, they will tell you it takes a whole lot of money
Right.
for the employer to take you through the motions of the hiring process, of the training process, and then to get you in that position and figure out you're not a good fit. Have you ever
Mhm.
heard people say that this
Yep.
person just doesn't fit with everybody else
Then
in the
they're not
group?
qualified.
It's
No,
not that.
it's not they're qualified, but it's their actions behind the qualifications. Because I'm sorry, Ann,
No, no, go ahead.
a lot of times, like you said, it looks good on paper. And
Mhm.
then because one of the jobs that I had in working with household finance company, I was part of the hiring team. And there's certain things that you look for. Paper is good. Sometimes they have all this knowledge, but they don't know how to apply wisdom to the knowledge.
Right,
That's right.
They're
right.
not people. They don't work good in an environment with a lot of people. They're self-centered,
Mhm,
and some of them are the ones you need to micromanage. With all
mhm,
of this knowledge, and we look for people you don't need to micromanage. So I've
mhm,
had to let several people go because they did not fit what was on paper. Because,
mhm,
like you said, it wasn't concrete, and a lot of people lie on their
mhm,
resume.
mhm,
And a lot of these companies, they don't do the back check like they
mhm,
should anymore. And
mhm,
so I look at certain qualifications. How do you interact with the people? Are
Hmm.
you a self-starter? Do you know what you're talking about? You gave me all the logistics on what I was looking for. Are you able to sit down and also get some instruction in how it's done? Okay,
mhm,
because you have some people that, like you said, and come in know it all and think I'm
mhm,
just going to sit here and they make a muck. My daughter and I were just talking about this, and
mhm,
the young lady's overqualified. Okay, and you have
mhm,
some who are overqualified. Uh,
mhm,
as according to what their resume says. But if you put their
Mhm.
you put them in a position, I'm still Dr. Dimry saying they dumb as a box of rocks because
Right.
they're not able to comprehend what you're trying to tell them. They get frustrated
Mm-hmm.
easy, and their
Mm-hmm.
application of the position is wrong. That's why I made the statement about Ms. Kamala Harris. Even though she's qualified in areas, she still has to learn. My thing when I hire somebody is like, forget what you learned from that company, okay?
Mm, mm.
Come on in here and let's learn afresh, right?
Right,
Because I
right.
Mhm.
find that people get frustrated when they try to apply something that is not applicable to the position that I'm hiring them from because it's from another company. And the way
Mm,
they do things
Hmm.
are different, okay? They can make
mm,
Absolutely.
suggestions and say, well, this probably what they could make the suggestion, but that doesn't mean I had to accept the suggestion because I've had to tell people, now you need to come down because this is the way we do it and this is what I'm
right,
looking for. And if
right.
you can't do that, then this is not, and like Ann said, this maybe not be the place for you. And then you
Mm-hmm.
have a 90-day
Hmm.
day period of proving that you
Mm,
can. Okay. And I'm
mm-hmm.
sure she had to prove, okay. She had to prove. I know she was
Hmm.
elected and stuff like that. But they have to trust her. They have to
Mm,
trust you that you're going to be faithful and loyal. That's what I'm looking for when I was hiring. You're going to be loyal to the
Hmm.
company. You're not going to steal documents. You're not going to do this, that, and the other. You know what I'm saying? And so I agree with Ann in that you can be qualified, but you can be overqualified and still be, as Dr. Demi say, dumb as a box of rocks because you're not able to you're not able to apply
Mm-mm.
what I require, if that makes
right,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
right.
And, oh, Dr. Sim, stay right there because I got a question for you. And most, especially when you talk about high level jobs
yes.
and positions, and you're interviewing somebody, most times
Mhm.
there's a 2 to 3 step process before you make a decision on someone, right? So
Yes,
let's
there
say
is.
their resume looks great, okay, their grades, what say they're coming out of college, all grades look
Mhm.
excellent, but then you're going
Yes,
to ask some questions to see if they are a suit for your organization. Now,
Right.
exactly.
okay, you okay, you may not agree with this. When at Morgan Stanley, I had several interviews, and one had to do with I had to go in front of a board of 12 psychologists.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and
Uh-huh.
they and they passed me. I don't know.
Man,
So
I need to
They
talk
didn't
to
they
those guys, man.
didn't
Holy
they
smokes.
didn't know
I
you
need to
too
have a word
well.
with them.
And give me
but
their
guess what?
name so I can call them. No, I'm
Well,
teasing.
guess what? Or then I had them all fooled. It was
I know
12.
you did.
Oh, okay. Hey,
Well, but
I
no,
got to go
that's
to
a
this.
good point.
It
That's
is
a
a good
good
point.
point, William, because I mean, before you take the bar, you have to have a background check. I have to go to the
That part.
police
Yes.
station to be
Oh, that
fingerprinted.
too.
Me
Yeah,
too.
so
Yes.
but I
Yes.
mean, so like I, told my son because he wants to go to law school too. There are just certain people, you have to if you know long term what you want to do, you
Right.
can't hang out with.
Right. Right.
Because if they
Absolutely.
get in trouble and you're with them, the cops don't care. They don't know what's going on. All this gets straightened out later on and technically there's a paper trail of you
Yeah.
being at the police station for something. So,
And then I look at body
Absolutely.
language. I look at body language. If your eyes are shifting on me,
Hmm.
you're not telling the truth. Because
mm,
my thing is, I look
Right.
at body language, and if you're in a posture that you're on a defensive, there's a certain way a person sits. A
mhm,
confident person just holds their. It's just you have to know the body language. Very
mhm,
confident in their answers, and then you have some who are just tricksters. Okay,
mm,
who will sit
mm,
Right.
there and will lie through their teeth, and you
mm.
always have somebody, I've learned the hard way, where you'll call somebody and try to get a check on the individual. They had a friend pick up the phone and lie.
Mm,
Okay.
mm,
Mm.
But
mm,
maybe a week into, I had to really discern this individual. And that's one thing I thank God for that because I had to discern it because something just didn't fly with this individual. You can't fool everybody all the time. And my
mhm,
thing is
Hmm.
this, and then I had other applicants. And so I chose the applicant that I thought was best suited for the job. And sometimes that applicant was less educated than the one
mhm,
who came in arrogant. But I found that
Mhm.
the one who was even
Mhm.
less educated, or should we say less qualified, well, that would be the team player that I was looking
Mm.
for. That would
Mhm.
be an achiever. That would be a one who's easy to learn. And then too, he or she was suggestive, and they looked and said, "Well, Miss Sims, instead of starting mess with the group, they would come and follow the right channels in
Mhm.
interjecting ideas, which I appreciate so much." But I
Mhm.
had them under the scope, and I think this is what every employer should do with any individual that they have by their side or whatever. Have them under the scope and see what they're working with. And then I got feedback from the rest of the staff, okay?
Mhm.
And how,
Mhm.
because I'm not always with them. So I called the staff in and said,
Right.
"How do you feel about this individual that's come on the team?" And if they had any concerns, I didn't ignore those concerns, okay?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
Mhm.
also know that some of the team were jealous too, okay? So I have to look at all aspects, and so
Right.
these are some of the things. And Kamala Harris may not have been fully qualified. She may have been just totally educated, but her hands-on and the being in the atmosphere helped that qualification. And so I cannot
Mhm.
take that away because it helps you
Right.
enhance on the ability that you had when you came in, if that makes sense.
It does. I
It
think
does. And
what we don't understand is that there's so much more to hiring people
Oh,
than what
yes.
the Republican
mhm.
machine likes to put out there. They want you to say that people aren't being hired because they hire somebody black, or they hire somebody Asian, or they hire somebody with a disability, or they hired a woman. There is so much more that goes into the hiring process. And I'm not saying that as somebody who is a business
Mhm.
owner that hires people. I'm saying that as a person who sits in unemployment insurance hearings and has to decide
Mhm.
between the employer and the employee who is right. And some of the time you just have the employer coming and they don't have a really good reason for not, for firing the person, except that this
Right.
person was not a good fit for the company.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And the
Right,
person
right.
will argue, well, I've got the credentials, I've got this, I've got that. But then you hear all this other stuff. Well,
Right, right.
they couldn't apply
Mhm.
what they learned. Or there are even those people who have everything that the employer would want, but
Mhm.
they cause so much
Mhm.
hell on the job that the employer was like, "We just can't afford to keep you. Since you got here,
No.
yes, our numbers went up, but we've had so much infighting on this job that you just can't be here anymore." And they had to develop a whole
Right,
policy just because of this one
right,
fool that they hire. So there's so much more that
right.
goes
Absolutely.
into hiring the right person than just the color of their
Absolutely.
skin, than just what
Oh,
grades they
absolutely.
got and all that kinds of stuff. That it's a big lie that the politicians put out there, that, oh, they're not hiring white people because they want to get black people or they want to get somebody else. No, employers, real employers, who will tell you that this costs us money to
That part.
hire
That's
you, to
right.
train you, and then have to fire you and start all
Right,
over
right.
again with somebody else. It's way more to it than that.
Absolutely.
Way
A
more.
lot more. And let me I want to drop this other video real quick. Uh
Okay.
real
You
quick.
got 4
Okay.
minutes.
Be right
Hey,
back.
It's
hey,
6:56.
William, before you bail on all of us, I've got about 60 seconds I'd like to have somewhere along the way.
How about
Well,
we let
then
how about
I
we do
tell you
this
what.
next week?
Okay, but then let's do this. We'll save this video for next week.
Yep.
Okay, we got 4 minutes. Okay, Mike.
Oh, sweet. All right.
Mike.
Gotcha. Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, good.
Oh, loud and clear.
So let me go back to, because you guys go rapid fire through all this stuff, and I have to make notes just to get a word in.
No problem.
Taking guns from the good people will only leave the bad people, the evil people, with guns. So that's
Mhm.
not going to make it better. So Ann or any of you had your guns taken away because there's a gun buyback or something throughout the United States. Only the evil people are going to end up with guns through the black market that Dr. Sims was talking about. The border was so much better under Trump, and he didn't need any kind of Congress to make it better. The border was under much better control when Trump was here. I'm not a Trump fan, I have to keep saying, but it was better.
Mm.
This guy that shot Trump, they want to keep repeating, and in the video it wasn't fair because they said, oh, he's a Republican, he's registered Republican. They forgot to tell you that he donated to a left-wing cause. He donated money recently to a left-wing cause, a left-wing
recently $15 3 years ago. $15, Mike.
He still donated.
So,
but they
Let him
don't
finish,
tell
William.
you
Let him
that.
finish.
Oh, hang on, William.
Let him finish, William.
They didn't. They told you he's a Republican, but they forgot to tell you that part, that he donated to a left-wing group. An AR-15 is not a weapon of war. It's a semi-automatic weapon, not a fully automatic weapon. Semi-automatic. So stop calling it a weapon of war, because an AR-15 or any style of those was never, ever used in the war. So let's stop. This guy that that was on the video, that guy was nothing but a drama queen. That's all he was doing, is try to incite people to get all wound up about nothing. The media after Trump was shot, all the left-wing media, the mainstream media, they didn't call it an assassination. They referred to it as an incident. They said, CNN said that he was startled by loud noises and fell to the ground. That is not, I watched the tape many times. That is not what happened. So once again, left-wing media just lying to you. Let's see. And as far as Kamala Harris goes, is she qualified? I personally don't think she is qualified. And I definitely have a problem with her and her morals. She was having relationships, a relationship with Willie Brown, knowing that he was a married man. So go ahead, tell me about Kamala Harris' morals. Yeah, she's not qualified, and she's the DEI hire.
Okay, I vehemently disagree with you just about everything you said. CNN didn't say that. They said that it was an assassination attempt. That's what they said.
Initially,
okay?
They said
right.
it was.
No, go back. No, Mike,
they changed the words afterwards.
Nope, no, they did not. No, Mike, you need to stay off of Fox. You really need to stay off of Fox. I switched from channels. I switched from CNN to MSNBC and to Fox. And Fox tried to change the narrative. Oh, it's the Democrats' fault. Do you know how dangerous that is? Okay. Did Trump call Nancy Pelosi after her husband's head was almost bashed in? Did he call Governor Whitmer after she was almost kidnapped? No, he did not. He mocked them. See, what I'm saying, Mike, if you're going to call a spade, call all spades. Because you lean to the right. No, that is not going back. I'm not going with that. I don't hear that. I don't care. Because there's no such thing as.
It's Reverend Demery's turn. Reverend Demery.
Let me make a quick comment. I'm going to take a line from one of Aretha Franklin's songs. Let's go way back. Let's go way back. Let's go back to the beginning of this mess. Whether you want to call it DEI or affirmative action, it all came out of racism. And I'm telling you, what's happening right now, and I'm not calling you out, Mike. I'm just saying it in general because I had a white friend tell me this. One of the problems with DEI and one of the problems with affirmative action is that there's a lot of white people that are afraid. They are becoming the minority. And that's why you have these groups, people driving around with trucks and waving the American flag, because they're a part of a particular group. But when you go way back and you look at the whole process, there's no one that can deny the fact that a lot of black people were denied jobs because of the color of their skin, not because of their qualifications. And so that's where the springboard of all of this stuff began. Now it's becoming a backlash and it's being used against righteous people. So let's not forget the fact that everybody's not like you, Mike. They're not fair. They're not equitable. They're not reasonable. There are a lot of racists. And I'll say it again, racist white people in this country that dislike people of color. I don't care what color you is. I mean, I'm not as dark as my wife. My wife is black as an ace of spades.
Oh
But
Lord.
they call me pea color because I'm kind of light skinned. But I'm
Okay.
gonna
Bruh.
tell you one thing.
And you know what they
When it
call
goes
me.
back and you look way back at the beginning of this whole process, it all begins with racism. And I'm telling you, one of the reasons why this backlash is happening is because white males are afraid. They are
Yes.
losing their power. They're not in the majority anymore. There's no more good boy club. There's
Right.
no more process where they make all the decisions. Okay, you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out. And there is the process that takes place. We have to make this a fair playing board. We got to make the game fair where everyone has a referee that's going to make the decision fair and equitable. That's all I have
Mhm.
to say. But
Absolutely.
that's the beginning of
Well,
this
thank
whole
you, Ann.
process.
Hey, I want
Well,
to thank Ann for being the referee today also. But guys, we're out of time and we'll be back next week. Let's pick it up next week because I think conversations, the problem I think in this country is that we don't talk and
right.
we don't have to agree,
Absolutely.
but at
Yes,
least
absolutely.
we're putting a discussion on the table. Okay.
Right.
And I'm going to defend Mike's right to be wrong anytime. So don't worry about it.
Oh my Lord.
And I'm sure he'll defend your
Okay.
right to be wrong as
I
well.
do.
Okay. That's
I defend William, and no matter what we say here on this show, I love William. I consider him a brother, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Awesome.
well,
All
Me
we
too.
love
right.
And
we love everybody on here. I do. So
Amen.
and
Amen.
and
All
brothers
right.
fight.
That's
Brothers fight.
true. That's
Okay.
true.
True.
I have two boys that
Okay,
fight
guys.
constantly.
Okay. All right.
Have a
Hey, guys,
blessed
thank
week,
you so much.
everybody.
bye
Really
everybody.
appreciate it. All right.
Amen.